Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another fabulous episode of the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. I'm your host, Erika, and today we are going to be having a great conversation about rebuilding an identity for this morning. If you're watching this, I want you to get some time to take some grace, get you a cup of coffee, because this is going to be a great podcast episode for this morning or afternoon or evening, whichever you prefer to listen to. But I have a wonderful guest this morning that I am going to be interviewing with you guys. Her name is Jen. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you for having me on as a guest speaker. Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys. So Jen, I know this might not be your first rodeo on doing podcasts, but I am so grateful that you came onto this episode this morning with me. And just to have a little icebreaker before we start discussing about re-identifying and identity as a mom and things of that nature, just going all into the balance of everything. I want to jump in, and I've always learned about something that is bring in as an icebreaker for a light conversation. So, what is one word you would use to describe the season of your life that's happening right now?
You said it already, and it's grace. This would be my word. Grace in the mistakes, grace in the day, grace for not getting this or that done,
Mhm.
grace just on yourself, not from anyone else. You don't need it from anyone else. It's just grace for yourself in all the movement and all the things.
I like that word. That's a good word to use for the season as a little icebreaker. I think for me, I have two. I think I would want to say one is navigating because I'm navigating through this season. And then I think another one for me for this season would be a lot of balancing because it's so many things as a mom you're juggling through. So I think those two words for me for my season right now, it's pretty cool. So I'm glad that we started with this icebreaker for this morning. So before we begin, can you share a little bit about your story with the listeners that are listening to this or watching this morning? And what are some major life changes that led you to start the journey of rediscovering like your story or rediscovering who you are?
Well, my story, I guess that runs deep, right? I got several years of experience. I think there's been two really, really big transitions in my life. The first one was becoming a single mom to my three children. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a huge shift that I had to, well, one of my biggest fear was being a single parent. I didn't want to fit the stereotypes. And
Mm-hmm.
so with that being said, my baby girl was not even a year old and I have three. So, and my oldest was 5. So I had 3 children under 5 becoming a single mom and navigating that and rediscovering who I am, rebuilding this idea of what a single parent is. Then now recently we just moved, my children and I, to a smaller town. So I was at a position for 10 years. So I'm a teacher and here I am building a business as well as a financial coach and moving my children from, a growing city into a
Mm-hmm.
small town, 5,000, and navigating that whole thing has been so huge. And this was just this past summer and navigating so many different deaths of myself, what I thought I knew, of people who I thought were friends, dealing with my own stuff. Talk about being tested, that pushed me to having to, again, remember who I am, reclaim what it is I want, my sovereignty, to just allow grace to flow in and not saying, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, because I'm pretty goal oriented as well. So lots of shift. So
I
I'm going to
like
keep.
how you said that, the term death is not often expressed when it comes to reclaiming yourself as a mom. I look at it as another term is you're just shedding old things that are no longer servicing a purpose for you in reference to the many hats of being balancing of a mom. And
Mhm.
it's not often talked about because it's like you do have, once you become a mom, you're not into the single person anymore. You're now a mom taking care of somebody, a little human being. And then the fact that you're taking care of 3 little human beings, it's more eyes on you and you have to, I don't want to say be the modern citizen because that's not the right term to use, but it does show that you have to, one, move very, very quickly and growing up when you're probably just being, you were to yourself. And then secondly, it's a lot of changes that come with being a mom. Those same friends that you had, you no longer have those friends. You're now finding those mom groups to be part of the friend group, which is that's very hard because then you're like, are there people that are aligned with me? Are there people that, for example, may like football, but they don't know football? People like cooking. Some people don't like cooking. A lot of hands in that pot. So I like how you stated that you had to find, there was a death within yourself that you had to reclaim back to yourself. So I do like how you did that analogy with that compared to shedding. So that's pretty interesting for me.
Yeah, because it's like this part that no longer fits, right? And
Mhm,
there's like a grieving part of it. And that's why I
mhm,
say death, like when, I feel like there's so many different kinds of deaths, right? Where not just, lost of a family, but even like through a divorce or even through a job, because there's this part where you're grieving and we don't associate that as like, oh, this is something real, right? This is
mhm,
because somebody didn't die, I shouldn't be like this. But no, yes, there's like this old part of you that you are comfortable with, that you're navigating, right? Navigating into this other evolving woman, right? Evolving
mhm,
person. And so in order to evolve to that person and be in alignment with what it is that you want and desire in your life,
mhm.
that old part of you has to die, right? It
Yeah.
has to go away. And so there's a part where you're kind of like, oh, for me, it was for me in my, like, just the past few months, there was this part where I was like, what is going on? And it was so frustrating and so painful, even because
Mhm.
even the support that I thought was there, it
It
dissolved.
wasn't there.
I just,
Yeah. And I learned that too, where I think when you first become a mom, you're looking for where's the handbook? Because there's a handbook for everything. There's a handbook for everything, And then there's
a
uh,
book for that.
a, a Wikipedia for all the resources that you're looking for online. And then when you
Mhm.
have this little human being and you're like, oh, like you're not returning, like you're here to stay. It's like almost like you said, with the grief of there's a tunnel. And there's a tunnel that when you look back, that tunnel is dark and you're like, okay, it's hitting. This is it. I have to shed what's no longer me and shed all those friends that were no longer me to end up evolving, like you said, as a woman. So I have another question for you. What did the season teach you about identity?
This season teach me about identity. It taught me many things. It taught me, I think the deepest part is how whole I am and how resilient I am.
Mhm,
I was that person who was a people pleaser. I was seeking validation. And this season has taught me just to be in the silence, in stillness, and just ground into it and just listen. Because where for me, it was like I'm listening to so many outside noises, right? The
mhm,
phone, social media, TV, workplaces, whatever, right? Versus
mhm.
listening to what was going inside me. Cause it's like I already knew, we already know the answer. And so the identity in that is just being comfortable in my own skin, every facet and all that I do. I am who I am.
I like that. I do. I think that shows how your story evolves a little bit more. The more you, like you said, I like how being still and sometimes being silent with yourself, you understand a little bit more about why things are happening the way that they're happening or what was the purpose behind of what's happening. Because we
And
often, go ahead.
yeah, and I just want to also add to that. In that stillness, we're so used to so much noise around us that some of us are just uncomfortable in that quiet place. And that became a very comfortable place where I needed it on a day to day
Mhm,
basis. Whether it's just for 5 minutes or a minute. But in that moment, after all the monkey brain, I call it, all the craziness, ideas and
mhm,
thoughts that may not even be our own thoughts, just kind of just brushes through. But when you get to a
mhm.
point where all that is gone and you could just sit there and just enjoy, That's power and it's
And,
peace.
for me, I think I struggle with kind of the people pleasing. So I'm trying to get over navigating through that in that season of what's happening right now. But I've started to learn, like I've prayed for the keyword for me was patience. And I prayed about it and I was like, Lord, if you can give me the patience to just first give me the definition to you of what you think patience would be to you. And then I asked the Lord, what is that? What does that look like? Can you give that to me? And a lot of my friends now that are trying to return back into my life have been saying, Erica, you got so much patience. I don't understand how you got this patience. Why are you so you so chilled? You used to snap all the time. Now you just chilled. And I was like, well, I prayed for patience and I've been praying it for a long time. I said, but two, a lot of people are starting not to understand that I'm saying no, and it's making it seem like I'm just being mean, and it's not being mean. It's just at this point in my life, I've people pleased for so long, you're just like tired. You just get overwhelmed and you're just like. And so for me, I'm trying to learn how to not only still remain the identity of being a mom, but that stillness that you're speaking of, I want to be able to get to that because it's uncomfortable. For me, it feels a little, I don't want to say anxiety is the word, but it does feel uncomfortable when you try to be still for so long because you want to express what you want to express, but it may come off. To you, it may come off like aggressive, but to me, it's like I'm just saying, hey, I'm kind of fed up. Let me move forward with this. You see what I'm saying with the stillness? So
Mm,
that I really applaud you for learning in this identity of this season, the stillness that you have.
thank you.
So, which there's such a powerful reflection in this season with identity. And it's amazing the hardest chapters that you have to face with getting that clarity. Was there any particular moment where you realized you needed to rebuild or say, now this is the time to shift things a little bit differently?
You know what? I've always been in a place of where I just want to be better. And there is someone who, another podcaster who I would listen to, who's like always 1% better, each day. And so that was something I was like, yeah, I just want to be the best mom for my children. So that was always something that was there. That was always a push for me.
Uh-huh.
But this season, recently, or that I'm still currently in,
Hmm.
and learn to show myself grace that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to just flow easy. I could sit and I could rest because you're talking to a woman who was sleeping probably 4 hours a night. I don't know how I did it. 3, 4 hours a night, right? As a mommy, right? A
Hmm.
working mom, trying to build a business, doing all the things.
Hmm.
And show myself grace that my business isn't where it should be, but I can sit back and be in gratitude and be my kids are healthy, my children are
Hmm.
happy. I've accomplished this far. Each day I can get up, right? And so the push was always towards this place of what is it that I want in my life? What is it that I'm trying to manifest? And I wanted to be closer to nature. I
Hmm.
wanted my children to grow up where it was safer and where they can actually play outside and where we can like go on hikes and stuff. And we did that this, this season,
Hmm.
this past summer. And whoa, who I had to become to be that person and then navigate in that life is a process in itself. And so the push was what was my goal? What did I want to have in our life? To feel that not just success, but to have this flow. I really wanted this flow. I wanted peace. I
Hmm.
wanted a home of that I can call a sanctuary. And I do have that, even though it was such a huge process and still is a process of transitioning into all the changes. So we think it's supposed to be like boom, like a genie. It just happened all of a sudden, but there is a process of all the things, right? Of
Hmm.
how things flow and getting into alignment so it all feels good, whole body, like
Hmm.
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in all aspects. And I'm in that process of getting there, even though there's been these kinks, there's been these challenges, there's been this stuff just thrown in my face. And it's like, so.
No, and like I said, you'd use I think you like my word balance a lot. I know you do. I know you like my word balance because you're balancing and you're navigating and you're manifesting because like you stated, this is something that you wanted and you re-identified it and now you have it. And it's still, like I said, it's still a transition, but you're still aiming for more. And I
Right.
applaud you on that as well.
Mhm.
Um, Now, I want to still talk about the stillness of everything because how did you get to the stillness? Like that peace, that I'm trying to get the words, the serenity of the stillness that you had. How did you get towards that?
It's a process, right? And
Mhm.
it took this didn't happen overnight. It was a process of meditation and just sitting and then allowing the emotions to rise and come through because there's so much power. Like I said, there's so much power in that stillness. In that stillness, I was very good at suppressing my emotions and my feelings. And when I go into this place, I'm able to just kind of listen and have
Mhm.
it all comes up because that's where I'm listening to source and navigating like where do I go from here, asking my questions, right? But also really doing the listening and honoring myself. And what I usually like to do before I even get to that when I go into this place of stillness is to go into gratitude because we need to raise our energy, our flow, right? We can't just be
Mhm.
in low level, raising that energy. And I think the best way to do that is through gratitude. I practiced gratitude for so long. After my second divorce with my children's father,
Mhm.
um, it was gratitude that kept me going because it was like the little things, like
Mhm.
the whole situation of what happened and getting out of that and seeking help and humbling myself to get the help I needed
Mhm.
was such a process. But then gratitude, I'm grateful I got my arms, my legs, I can move,
Mhm.
I have energy, right? Whatever gratitude, no matter how little, it helps you elevate. And so when you go into that state, you listen better, you know,
Mhm.
and you just sit with that and you can just sit and listen, right? Ask that question of what it is that you want to have answered. Like,
Mhm.
what do I do to get through today? What do I need to do to move towards X, Y, and Z? And just sit, let all the things come through and just know that all those thoughts doesn't have to be true. It's just thoughts. And
It
then
just
it's just release
works.
it. Sometimes it just want to be heard. Okay, I hear you. I hear you pain. I feel you pain. I hear you anger. You
'Cause you wanna yell sometimes and you can't yell often and you like you said, it's I think suppressing your emotions, if you can find another way to have another outlet, like you stated, just being in that stillness and try to breathe through it, I think that's pretty cool. And as moms, we often put so much pressure on ourselves.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
pressure turns into putting that onto our kids. And we don't, we often don't want that for our kids to see that happening. And so what does balance mean to you now compared to what does balance mean to you then? I know
Mm,
you did.
good question. Well, balance, I thought it was, I wrote what balance means. So I'm going to read that because it just hits everything. And I was like, yeah, this is what's coming from the heart. But before balance was doing it all, doing everything and everything going great and easy. And it just comes in just with full force. Right. And now what I forgot was the flow of it.
Mm,
So balance now is a sacred dance between doing and being. So before I was just doing, 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 doing,
mhm,
but I wasn't being that person. No. And this is where, our purpose meets our presence and it's allowing for ourselves to honor, our responsibilities, whatever is there for us at that moment in time. And it looks different from one person to another, but it's also it's not abandoning ourselves, abandoning our souls, our truth, right? So
mhm.
knowing that when we pour into others, we have to refill our own cups too. It's
I
just
felt that
of love. Yeah. So it's just,
as many times. When
Mhm.
you pour into yourself, you have to make sure you're able to pour into other people because if you keep continuing to pour into that cup, that cup becomes an overflow. And it's
Mhm,
kind of like how I subject it to that cup becoming like a river. Once that river happens, it turns into a lake, and a lake turns into an ocean, and it just becomes so overwhelming to where you finally are screaming on the inside saying, "Wait, I've had enough.
mhm,
I'm so overwhelmed with what my cup is feeling for me. I still have to make sure my cup is well fed for my children. I have to
mhm,
make sure my cup is well fed for my significant other." And sometimes you just have to say, let that cup be for you just for once and put
mhm.
that in totality of that back into yourself versus having that cup continue to overflow and then you don't know what to do with that cup. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
do agree with you on that because like I stated, there's a lot of cups to be overflowing over here. And I'm trying to get
and that's a great thing, and I think the biggest thing with balance is alignment, you
Mhm,
know, having full on alignment, knowing that even in the quiet knowing we're building our wealth or nurturing others, we're
mhm,
evolving spiritually and still yet very present and able to be ourselves,
mhm.
fully,
Yeah,
so
and I like that word alignment too because
mhm.
you've expressed about what balance means to you then and now. How do you make space for yourself without feeling the guilt of surrounding for other people, but, contain that for yourself?
Right. Like I said, there's been a lot of deaths. So people who I thought were friends and who were going to be there for me
Mhm,
weren't there for me. I was blocked. People just ghosted. And I'm like, yeah, we were meeting like once a week. We had a call.
mhm,
Um, So there was a lot of space, and so there was no guilt. All I had was I can't say all I had was space, but it was my children, my partner and I, and he's been very supportive. My children, they've been with me for 9, 8 years of just mommy and them, where
mhm.
with my children. And then my partner, we've been together for 5 years and we finally decided to move in together. So that was another navigation of my space, right? And it's just knowing that even if I took 5 minutes to just sit and listen and just kind of just breathe, I think breath is so important,
Mhm.
it's power as well. And it's like, hey, I need 5 minutes. This season really has taught me just to be centered and in trust, that I have everything I need within me and I don't need to outsource or look to someone
Uh-huh.
else. Because everything I need is right here already. It's with me. I have my children, I have a very supportive partner who, and that was really important was like taking my time this time, through two divorces, right? But taking my time when having a partner who I know I could be myself in.
I love that.
Yeah. I can he's so patient with me, so patient with so great with my kids, and that was so important and key. So it was like really, in the past 8 years of being a single mom, it's like I did what I wanted partnership, but I wanted the
Mhm,
right partnership where I can be myself. I don't need to hide myself. And this is what taking space is. It's taking that time to really sit in what you're actually manifesting.
mhm,
Whether you know that you are or not, with every word, with every step, with every decision, whatever it is that you do, you're
mhm.
manifesting something, whether it's
You are.
something you want or not. That is where you got to ask yourself, what am I attracting? So,
So,
and
yeah,
that's the space.
manifesting is real, and I believe it because I didn't think I was gonna have a podcast happening, and I ended up having a podcast in 2025. So, I believe that it is real, that whatever you speak, I think I just said this the other day to my significant other where I told him, I said, dude, you gotta pray for patience because I was like, you got some road rage, but, And he was like, well, can you pray it for me? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, babe, you manifest a lot of stuff. And I was like, not really. But I was like, I said, you have taught me that when you say negative things come out and that's what you attract. So if you keep contracting those negative things and not contracting positive things to you, you're never going to receive those blessings that are coming to you. times 10. You don't know when they're coming. It could be today, tomorrow, next week, next year. Manifesting those things are the key. And I am going to continue to manifest throughout 2025 because 2026 is going to be a year of traveling because I am trying to travel
Whoop,
next
whoop.
year. And
I
I
love
love that you're saying like navigating and alignment and balancing, they all come together in a group. It ties into a group. So I love that it isn't just always about balancing. It isn't always about navigating or having that alignment. They all stand for something in their own way. And so now that you've moved through this season and you've built something within this season, and came out a lot stronger. You know, you said 2 divorces, and I applaud you for going through that season because divorce on some people, they lose hope. And
mhm.
so I'm glad that in this season that you show with today's episode that you can go through on the other side and get through that season of divorce. So if you are going through something like that, people, there is hope on the other side of the things.
It's loving within, loving yourself. Because
Yeah.
about the mess, the mind games that I went through, and that I also allowed to live in my heart, to live in my mind. I had to navigate that, right?
Mhm.
And I did a lot of work. I've learned, I took courses, I took programs because these were things that I like to be better, to be that
Mhm.
1% better that
Yeah.
I resonated for me, you know? I didn't I went to therapists, but I ended up being their therapist. So, I was like, "I need something else," and just to learn more about myself. I think that was the biggest key is learning what it is I want, and
Mhm.
I wanted to be more confident because I was so insecure. That's why I needed everyone else's voice to lift me up, and it's learning to just sit in that stillness and, and ask myself those questions, even the hard questions, of what needed to be changed. And with any change, it takes us here in our comfort zone and it moves us into the discomfort. And that's where the magic is. There's so much magic in our discomfort because that means we're stretching and
Mhm.
we're becoming, we're evolving,
Mhm.
there's so much beauty in that.
There is beauty with like I've even learned with even in the workplace where they've always said you have to get uncomfortable to be comfortable. And I think that's a testament to in life you always have to keep challenging yourself to just be better within yourself.
Right.
Because the more you keep challenging yourself, the more you're going to find out new things about yourself that you never knew in the
Hmm.
beginning. And so I know you had a lot of lessons that mostly attracted with healing and growth. So for a mom that is going through this, not just a mom in general, but for a woman or a man in general that is going through a tough season like this, would you say, what is the best advice that you have received that you can give to someone else that's going through a season like this?
For a season like this, learn about yourself again. Ask yourself
Mm.
experiences that you want to experience. Explore yourself, and learn to love yourself again because you're so worthy of love. You are love, right? Love is within each and every one of us. And we give it out so much that we forgot. We forgot that it's
Mhm.
flowing in us. So it's reclaiming. But in order to reclaim, you have to explore. You have to be open to learning again. You have to be open to the changes.
Yep, I like that. You have to be what is going on with my face? You have to learn to fully I think re-loving yourself is so cool to the point where all the people pleasing, all the outside noise, which is just it's like a storm. It
Mhm.
will be there for a minute, but once you learn to not people please and not always bend the rules or always being so hard on yourself, that storm will go away. It'll eventually just disappear.
Right. Well, for me, I am the storm.
Yeah. You
You
gotta
know,
bring the lightning and the bolts
right. I'm bringing
and
in
the
that
bringing the
tornado.
tornado.
I'm bringing the
Yeah, I was just
wind. I'm bringing the
saying at the
rain and
same
the
time,
hail
the
and
tornado.
everything.
Yeah,
And
we
that
said it at
there
the
is,
same time. We said the
right,
tornado. Yes.
there's
Yes.
chaos,
So
but in that there is this peace and finding peace in the silence, right? Because
within
there's
that
that silence
storm.
before the storm, and then there's this peace after. where it's like, well, sometimes it's chaos, but like a safe storm, I should say. But there's this actually no,
I'd
you
rather
know
the
what?
storm
Even
not
in the
be
storm, even
not
in the
so
storm,
safe.
what is it?
I said
There's
I prefer go ahead, go ahead.
like, I know we're like all getting excited,
We're
but
saying
in
the
the
same
storm,
thing.
yeah, in the storm, it's crazy, right? And at the end,
Mhm,
it's like this place of rebuilding. And that's what it is. It's rebuilding and it's messy. It's not perfect. There's emotions, release it. And yet, piece by piece by piece by piece, you start rebuilding and you can rebuild way better than it was before.
mhm.
And that's where that hope is.
I like that too because I prefer the rough storm. You know, the storm that just destroy. I'm sorry, guys, but I have to say it. Just destroy all the houses. And then you know how they say when you build a house, you have to start with the foundation first, and the foundation makes the root of the house and, continue to build that house. It's
Mhm.
like that for me, which I want to, just whoosh all the houses away, like what's that book? The Three Little Pigs and the Bad Wolf. I'm the bad wolf in the situation, and my three little pigs, y'all trying to test me because, I mean, and the end of the story of the three little pigs, the wolf went away. But however, my storm is rebuilding. So, like I said, there's still a little hope in the journey. But
I'm the
I'm the
winner.
bad
You
wolf,
feel about
and
yourself.
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna own it, You gotta own it, which is a beautiful thing in life to own your mistakes, you own your own flaws, you own your own rebuild. So, I think that is beautiful in itself, and so I know looking ahead because, we almost have how many months left? It's October. Can't believe it's October, November, December, 2 more months of 2025, and looking ahead, I always talk about the word of the year.
Mm.
And I should have started this with the word of the year in the beginning, but I'm going to finish it with the word of the year at the end of this episode. And so I had started this off with the word of the year for 2025. It was being persistent, which I feel like I've accomplished that. I do believe that's on my vision board. I have to go back and look at it, but somebody's going to correct me on my vision board. But the year for 2023, my word of the year is elevate. And I feel like with 2026, now that I have started something and I'm like, it's coming into fruition and it's getting bigger by, I don't want to say the second, but it's getting bigger with each guest that are coming on the podcast. I want to know what is looking ahead for you for 2026, what would be your word of the year?
For 2026, sovereign abundance.
I like that. I like that a lot because it's almost tying in with elevating.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's sovereign abundance is, abundance it flows in, right? Abundance is all around us. But there's that sovereign part. It's independent from anything or anyone, and it's being in my power, wholly, fully showing up and understanding that what it is I want, I got it, right? I'll be
Mhm.
singing that Ariana Grande song. I
Oh,
want,
no.
I bought it.
That's that's my daughter being look, okay, look here.
But really, it's just a flow, this flow that I truly desire. And through sovereign abundance, that's the way to have.
And I like that. And I know we haven't touched base a little bit about your business, which I would love to touch base on it before we wrap up on our discussion today.
Mhm.
But how does my last question for you, I know we already went over the word of the year for 2026, which is a beautiful word that you've used. What are you looking forward, if you can explain a little bit about your business, and
Mhm.
what are you looking forward with that with 2026 that ties into like the motherhood and reclaiming your identity?
Great question. Thank you for asking.
No.
For 2026 and for my business, so I I'm a financial coach on the side where I like to look at it as a different twist where I get to include money and mindset. There's several tools that I use. I use NLP, neurolinguistics, programming, hypnosis, energy medicine. So we go into various different tools, but it's really what it is for the person to be in alignment. right?
Mhm.
Full alignment with what it is that they're manifesting and creating a system that will work for them to create that flow. And so, and to protect their wealth, to grow their money, to do all those things. So
Mhm.
for me, it's helping more families, helping more people reach or achieve sovereign abundance as well. I think when people hear that, it's like, ooh, that sounds amazing. But really, what does that look like for you as the individual? We see all these things on social media, like, oh, they're on a yacht, they're on this, they're doing this. And we think that's the life we want. But really, is that the life you want? Or is it an experience you want to try and have? You know, because probably with those people, it's just the experience. But for me, with sovereign abundance, it's having joy, it's having peace, living in my truth. And so what that is for others, we get to navigate that. And I get to share that with, being a financial coach, money and mindset coach. And there are a few programs that I will be releasing, in which one of them I called the sacred, honoring the sacred. Um, the name may change, but sacred is definitely in there, and it's an acronym that I use in having peace within and to honor who we are is
Mhm.
all sacred. Speaking more, with confidence and sharing what it is I do. I've been kind of hiding behind a rock. And so thank you again for allowing this space for me to share. And this is like that catapult to like push me out, like, oh, here, this is what I do. Cause there's tons of things that I've done, but I don't share, and
You
now
gotta share it. It's time.
it's tough. Exactly. And so,
Time. You gotta share it because
so
I
hiding next year, so it's showing up, it's really
Mhm.
rising to that person and teaching from a place of experience and a place of love.
I think 2026 is going to be a very, very promising year for you because, like I
Thank you.
stated, you're gorgeous, you're smart, you're talented. You've guided me through a lot in the last couple weeks because I'm a basket case going up here sometimes. We're not going to go there, We're just not. Nope.
Well, Erica, it's a reflection. I am a reflection of you and you're a reflection of me. And so you are also beautiful, amazing, and
Thank
just so
you.
resilient and so confident. I love it.
I mean, like I said, I'm talking about things that needs to be talked about. And I feel like within this today's episode, before we close up, when it comes to rebuilding and re-identifying and having the confidence, which it's okay to struggle with having confidence because Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's
Right?
much easier to hide that confidence rather than showing it. And I think for 2026, it's going to be a lot of more confidence in the things that you can do, things you can achieve them. It just takes time. We're not Kim Kardashian where it blows up overnight. We're not Jordan Sparks where we can sing to the mountaintop, but at least that we know that we have the confidence to go and achieve these things for 2026. And I'm thinking that this was a reminder in today's conversation to remind us all that transformation can happen, being resilient can take place, and having the confidence to continue to build can guide you through so many different things. So, before we close, can you share what's next for you and where can listeners connect with you on this awesome journey? Because I already follow you and you're amazing in my eyes.
Well, thank
I
you.
want to know where the listeners can find you.
Okay, okay. So where can you not know? Yeah, Instagram is a great place. My what is it, username or tag name, whatever, is Jennifer.Natasia, and Erica, Mr. Erica, you're gonna be putting it in this, right?
Uh-huh.
S-
And
That will
Shirley.
be, and then there's my website. It's a work in progress, but hey, it's there. You can contact me at www.jennifer.natasia jennifernatasia.com, and feel free to message me. I'm available. And what's to come, I'm creating a 4-week program on aligning with money. And
Mhm.
and also and that's like a 4-week independent program that people can just buy, and it's set up. If it takes you 4 weeks, great. It can take you 4 days. It's how fast you want to do it, your own pace. That's
Mhm.
also my program with Sacred. What is it? I forgot the name. That's so horrible that I forgot the name of my program that I'm
That's okay. We'll
Sacred
plug it
Ritual.
in.
I'm, I'm like on the spot, but it's called Sacred couples, and that's going to be probably a 7 to 9 week program where we meet weekly and really get into alignment with our truth, with our
Mhm.
sacred and our story. And then also, I also have a podcast as well called Sacred Her Story Podcast. And really, that's where women share their truth. And I just love it because women are the women on there that I've been able to um, interviewed share their own stories, and their
Mhm.
stories may resonate, and they're real stories. I think that's the whole thing. We always hear about history, so I wanted her story and the sacredness of her story because as women, we are so amazing and powerful. And also, I do share, my various other things where I'm just talking. I just recently put a hypnosis for wealth in my last episode that I just recently released. So if you want to
Mm.
hypnosis on getting into mindset of wealth, and this month is financial planning. So that was what the hypnosis was for, in honor of that,
Oh,
to alignment and be able to look at the numbers and know that this is stepping into your power and your journey for sovereign abundance. Feel free to listen to that. It's a 10-minute hypnosis slash guided meditation. So just sit and relax and listen and
mhm.
allow yourself to just flow with it. And yeah, that's lots of things to come. I'm still
That is a lot to impact. That is a lot. So 2026, like I said, it's going to be very, very promising. Well, Jen, I want to thank you for joining me this morning in regards to such an amazing and amazing conversation. I'm so glad I was able to find the time, both of us, to meet first and then get you onto the podcast of the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. Again, you guys, you heard her, where to follow her. She's on Instagram. She has a lovely website. She even have a podcast herself. I mean, like, hello. We have to get her up on her podcast in reference to Spotify and Apple. That's the platforms you're on, correct? On the
I'm on Spotify and YouTube. I'm not
See,
yet on Apple.
I was working on it. Well, we're manifesting Apple, okay? But
Yes,
she's
I'm
on
manifesting.
Spotify and YouTube, so you can definitely check out her podcast. As a closing remarks for today's episode, my friends, if today spoke with you in regards to your heart, as always, like I stated with the Balanced Boss Mom, share it with a mom, share it with a friend, share it with anybody that you feel like is in line with this conversation. Don't forget to follow the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. I am on wherever you listen to streaming wise, Spotify, Apple, you can catch this amazing conversation on YouTube. Also, I do have a website now, which is called balancebossmompodcast.com. So that is now available for you guys to check it out. And lastly, until next time, I want you to remember this to yourself. Balance isn't always about having the final say so on what you do in your life. It can be so many different things that can transform into that balance, whether you're going through a season that is hard with work, whether you're going through a season where it's hard at home, or just in life in general, you just know that you take it one day at a time. You keep balancing and focusing on yourself. And until next time, no matter what you do, don't let anybody steer your dreams away in reference to what you feel. And I hope you guys love today's episode of The Balanced Boss Mom. And Jen, again, thank you for coming onto this podcast. I can't wait to go on her podcast so I can just vomit at the mouth like I normally do here. But until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend or great month ahead. We got 2 more months, you guys, left. We got November and December, so we got to make it count. But Jen, thank you again for being on here. And bye, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.